I want to invite Sue Mawthy, the chair of our building committee, to come forward.
Good morning. I want to thank you for your time this morning to listen to what the building committee has to offer you. First, before we get started, I'd like to introduce the committee and ask that they stand up so you can put faces to names and know who to look for when we have our Q&A in the chapel later on. So first I'll call up Eric Bauman. Here's Eric. Cheryl DeHart. Here's Cheryl in the front. Don Hippis, I don't believe Don was able to join us today. Wayne Lanoy. There's Wayne. Mike Loomis. Thank you, Mike. He's in the back. Tori Schultz. There's Tori, also in the back. And Jolene Scribner. Jolene's in the back too. Everybody's in the back, mostly. All right, thank you, everyone. You should have received in the mail this week a letter that looks like this. If you did not, because I heard from one member earlier that he got an empty envelope. His envelope wasn't sealed. Okay, there are copies of this letter on the table in narthex. And our apologies. Sorry about that. There are also copies of the comment card that came with the letter. This is also on the table in the narthex. In the spirit of being transparent, we wanted to come to you today and present the fruit of our efforts over the past few months. And we're hoping to keep this to 15 minutes. In 1968, over 50 years ago, our congregation made a bold new beginning by constructing and dedicating the church building that we are blessed to call our spiritual home today. Over the past few years, the lay leadership of our church has begun looking at the long-term needs of our facility as it ages and as our ministry needs and goals change. The Horizon team was appointed by Church Council in 2015 to do some evaluation and take a forward look into the life of our congregation. As part of their work, they conducted a survey of the congregation, gauging satisfaction levels in the ministry areas of the church. The results of that survey were consistently positive, with some concerns in three particular areas: fellowship, reaching out to the younger generation, and alternative worship. A strategic plan was drawn up in 2016 that sought to address those concerns and included a call for a building study around the issues of fellowship, accessibility, and technology. The Building Study Task Force was appointed by Church Council in 2017 to take up that task. They conducted a building use survey of staff, members of the congregation, and representatives from the outside groups, and there are many that use our facilities. Again, replies were largely positive, with some notable exceptions. 40% of congregational respondents rated the narthex deficient. The CYF classroom area was rated deficient by 14%, and the fellowship hall by 9%. Other insufficient ratings given to specific areas of the church and its ministry are accessibility, which was at 28%, technology, 22%, climate control, 17%, signage, 15%, parking lot lighting, 13%, parking, 10%, safety, 9%, and inside lighting is 7%. The Building Study Task Force also updated the 10-year capital maintenance schedule, and I believe this is in your outline, so I won't go through all of these items, but you can see in the next 10 years, just for capital improvements, we'll be needing over $2 million. The task force recommended in its June 2018 final report that a building committee be appointed and charged with generating solutions to address the aging facility, particularly around renovation of the CYF building, renovation of the fellowship hall and river room, a renovation of the narthex, replenishing the building reserve fund, which currently stands at $70,000, nowhere near the $2 million we're going to need to do our capital improvements, a sanctuary renovation, and then renovating conference rooms. So our building committee was appointed by Church Council in October 2018, and we've met 8 times since then. And over the past few months, we've reviewed the recommendations of the Building Study Task Force. We've toured the building, which is very eye-opening. initiated visits to other churches that have faced similar challenges with their facilities. We've interviewed key staff. We reviewed our church's strategic plan that was drawn up by the Horizon team, and we asked bigger questions of mission in relation to our facilities. And we compiled a list of concerns, challenges, and needs facing the building. And we'd like to show you what these are via the pictures on the next few slides. I've got number 6, Jonathan. So these are structural concerns by the CYF building. It's in the entryway to there. There were some stress cracks that were put in and filled in a few years ago, maybe around 10. I don't know, Wayne could probably answer it better than I could, but we had some stability issues over there with the facility and with the building. And there was shifting and there was cracking going on. And so the last 5 years have been stable. We removed some vegetation. We did these stress cracks and stuff like that. So for now, it's stable over there, but there are definite residual effects of that. The stairs to the CYF shows structural concerns, but also lack of accessibility, and there's no elevator in that building. So we have had students that are wheelchair bound, and there's no way for them to get from there over to here, because all we have is steps. That's the only option, without going all the way outside and around the building, using the sidewalk. This is downstairs in the CYF floor, so the first floor. There's a floor crack that's outside the 3- and 4-year-old room. It's been covered up with a metal plate. This is the entrance to the CYF building, so this is the second floor, and again, we've done some cosmetic repair of the crack in the floor. The art room and the kitchen room have structural concerns as well, and there's a crack that's covered up with the metal plate in the floor. So this is the crack from the ceiling view. So you can see it. This is again from the first floor of the building looking up, and you can see what the crack looks like. Again, more structural concerns in CYF building, cracks in the walls. Stairs, again, just demonstrating lack of accessibility, including emergencies. If we had that, staff offices are over there, and so emergency exits if there was somebody, if we had a staff member, for instance, that had mobility concerns, they're in an emergency, that would be challenging to have to carry them out. The CYF offices are separated from the offices over here in the main building, so that causes a couple of things. There's duplication of resources like printers and storage space for office supplies and office supplies. We have to keep them in 2 different locations. It's also disjointed, having staff in 2 different locations. It's hard to collaborate that way. CYF classrooms have obsolete mechanical HVAC systems. There was no central air put in there when that building was put on. It was put on as an addition, I guess, later, is what I found out since first service. And so HVAC was not part of the original build. And so there are portable AC units in there right now. The windows in that building are all the original 1960s era, not very efficient single pane glass windows. This is our computer lab over there, and it's outmoded, outdated. It's lacking any technology over there whatsoever right now. This is the theater, and this is actually used quite a bit, not just on Sundays, but it's very small, and it gets very cramped in there. It also has accessibility issues. Somebody in a wheelchair has a difficult time navigating in and out of there. It's also just, we could use a bigger space for making displays, showing presentations, movies, things like that over there. This is an East Conference Room. You can see on the ceiling is one of those portable AC units because there's no HVAC system over there. So again, just obsolete mechanical systems over there. I understand that this may be sometimes used for middle school gatherings. So our middle school and our high school do not have dedicated space. And I will demonstrate a little bit later, but many times our confirmands are meeting with their mentors, and they're meeting in public spaces because we have no dedicated space for them. So they're meeting in the narthex, or they're meeting in the fellowship hall, and those are public areas where people are walking in and out. And they're trying to have confidential faith conversations with their mentors. it's sometimes uncomfortable enough for us to have conversations about our faith, not to mention teenagers. So this is the narthex when it's not congested. But we ask a lot of our narthex. It's a coat room. It's a place to store our name tags. It's a place for mission groups to put out tables out there, and like the Boy Scouts when they have their wreath sales, or the youth when they have stock sales for their mission trips. There's all kinds of information. We want to use it for fellowship, but that makes it really, really congested, as demonstrated in the next slide. This is a typical Sunday. On our committee, we've had a couple of people comment that they try to avoid the narthex on Sundays. They come in on the east side, they drop off their children, and try to avoid, so they don't have to try and navigate with their children through a crowded narthex. So we're trying to use it for fellowship space and all kinds of things, and it's just not, it wasn't built for that. It can also be dark and claustrophobic, and I know at night when you come here for meetings, a lot of times it's very dark. The sanctuary has outdated AV equipment. It's ineffectively located, and I can speak from personal experience because I do run video some Sundays. There's a column right there in the back, and it's hard to see keep track of the pastors and where they are and where I need to locate the camera and pinpoint it. So it makes it very difficult just from where it's located. But also the equipment is becoming outdated and will need to be replaced soon. These are the sanctuary windows. They're the windows up here. These are all single pane glass again, very efficient and not energy efficient at all, and we're losing a lot of heat and cooling in there in the summer. Also the heaters, they have heaters in them, and those are becoming outdated. And actually some of them are deteriorating right now. So it's what Wayne shared with us. The chancel area. I don't know how many of you remember Pastor Jeannie when she was here with us. She served as an interim pastor. She had some mobility challenges. It was very difficult for her to use these steps to come up. We have no wheelchair accessibility to get up onto the chancel right now. Same with the pulpit. It lacks accessibility for those who may have mobility challenges. Limitations of space in sanctuary. So we have no dedicated space for people to store their walkers, and they're tucking them in spaces and sitting them out in the aisles, and it becomes a safety concern if we would have to emergency evacuate or something like that. So it's just not, there's just not a dedicated space for storing walkers. There's a limitation of space in here for family worship. So our family worship area is back there. We, put that back there a couple of years ago. It just kind of feels like it's just been set in the middle of everything. It'd be nice to have a dedicated family space where maybe we could put up some type of barriers for sound, to keep in sound or something like that. The chapel. So the chapel is used for our confirmands as well. And they can close the doors in there and have their personal space, but when they want to have private conversations, again, they're either sent out into the narthex or they're sent down to the fellowship hall, and there just isn't great dedicated space for them. There's also there's rips and carpeting in the chapel, and I believe on the next slide we'll show that their door in there does not meet egress requirements, so it's very heavy. I don't know if any of you've ever tried to open it, but it's very, very heavy, and does not meet the current building code standards. So a library, again, it has the original 1960s single pane glass on the windows, not energy efficient at all. And same with the upper lounge. That also has original 1960s windows in it. Storage is at a premium in the church, and so we're tucking things in, and this is just an example under the stairway. This takes you down to the fellowship hall. We're using that as overflow storage because we just don't have enough storage space. So this is interesting. This is the original AV equipment down in the fellowship hall. Jonathan informed us that this is actually a collector's item. So we might be able to make money off this, not sure. But yeah, otherwise we have no other option down there for putting on presentations, and it's very difficult to do that when you have to speak to a large crowd. The fellowship hall also has deteriorating flooring down there, deteriorating finishes, flooring cabinets, things like that. We've actually got some flooring that's failing right now. It's coming up. There's 3 strips that you can see in the photo that have been replaced already, and they're deteriorating again, and are going to need to be replaced soon, probably before we have any resolution to what our building committee comes up with. But the rest of the flooring down there is asbestos tile, and that's throughout the downstairs. Here's a closer picture of some of the flooring that's failing right now down there in the fellowship hall. It's a beautiful space. It's just, it looks outdated. It's not warm. It's not inviting. It would be so nice if we could have more gatherings down there, have an AV system that works, be able to do nice presentations down there as a church. And yeah, just outdated and old looking. This is the music library. They're running out of space too, and getting creative with how to store their music is what John tells us. So yeah, they could really use some more space for storing of their music. The next picture will show that we've got the robes. There is no closet, just dedicated closet space for the robes. They're hanging on racks just out in the middle of office space, and there's just, they really lack storage for the music program. This is the choir room. It lacks natural lighting. Also has some accessibility issues. If we had a member of the church who was wheelchair bound, for instance, it would be difficult for them to navigate in and out of here. There are stairs that go down to the seats down below, but there's no ramp or anything like that. This is the Amistad room, which is off the fellowship hall. This is where our bell ringers practice, and all of the bell equipment is stored here. What that means is when they want to present their beautiful music to us on a Sunday, it takes at least 4 trips using the elevators to get all of that equipment up here. And it's quite a reduction to do that, and it would be nice if we could have that equipment stored up here in the sanctuary to bring out when we need it. This is the West Conference Room. It's located right across from the entrance to the fellowship hall. If you walk by it, you think it's a storage room. There's no windows in the door. The only way you know it's a conference room is by the label on the door itself. Again, you walk by or you walk in and you think, wow, this is a conference room. It's kind of been converted to an overflow storage as well, or some storage needs that we have taken over. This is our parking lot. If any of you have tried to navigate this in the winter, it's very difficult, even for somebody that doesn't have mobility issues, but for those that do, there's a lot of ice and stuff that builds up on here. It's just very difficult to keep it clean. Also, the lighting, if you're ever here at night for a meeting and you leave, the lighting is just very dim, and it's not a real safe feeling walking out into the parking lot at night. Our signage is down on the ground. It's not real visible. It's really doesn't really advertise us and bring a lot of visibility. So, in order to open our door even further and be the church of the open door, it'd be nice if we had more well-lit, higher signage to bring visibility. And now I'll get back to my presentation. So next steps. You've received a comment card, and we would really like to hear from you. Our next steps are to take any of the input that we get from you and compile that. There are baskets in the back of the church, in the back of the sanctuary here for you. If you want to fill in your comment card and you don't have a writing utensil, raise your hand. The ushers will bring you a pencil. If you want to fill it out right now, we have baskets in the back that you can certainly drop them off in. You can also fill it out later. We will have a box in the office, church office, that you can drop it in at some other time as well. So this presentation in both video and written form will be on the website, along with a link for making comments electronically. We particularly want to call that to the attention of our live streamers to the electronic comment option. And for the entire congregation, we would like your comments within the next 2 weeks, so that puts us at April 21st. In the coming months, we are getting together actually in a couple weeks to start writing an RFP, which is a request for proposal. And we'll be taking probably about a month to get that together. And then we plan to engage with and interview architectural firms who can offer potential solutions to the identified issues with our facility. We have no cost to what any of this would cost yet. We aren't at that stage yet, but we are working toward that. Some personal comments from me. Our first meeting as a building committee, we sat down and we watched the video that was presented at last October's celebration. And watching that video, we were inspired by our predecessors and their courage and their boldness. They were really visionaries for our church's mission. We felt as a committee the weight of that as we have been traveling on this path of discovery and discernment. And our journey has enlightened us as to the current challenges of an aging facility and grounds that do not meet the functional needs of both current and future members, as well as current day building code standards. Our church's mission is to be the church of the open door. An aging and in some areas deteriorating facility makes accomplishing that mission difficult. Well, we want to remind you that our church is a gift from God through Jesus Christ, and it is first and foremost comprised of the love God has given us, that we have shared with one another, and that we are called to share with the world. This is the heart of this church. This building is a gift from those who have gone before us, who too found the love of God, self, and neighbor at the heart of First Congo. As we move forward, let us never forget that loving heart. And this is how Reverend George McLeod put it as he offered up a prayer of dedication for the rebuilding of the Abbey on Iona. And if we could bow our heads in prayer, please. It is not just the interior of these walls. It is our own inner beings you have renewed. We are your temple, not made with hands. We are your body. If every wall should crumble and every church decay, we are your habitation. Nearer are you than breathing, closer than hands and feet. Ours are the eyes with which you, in the mystery, look out in compassion on the world. So we bless you for this place, for your directing of us, your redeeming of us, and your indwelling. Take us outside the camp, Lord, outside holiness, out to where soldiers gamble and thieves curse, and nations clash at the crossroads of the world. So shall this building continue to be justified. Amen. We'd like to end today's presentation with some words from Don Sevitson when he was with us last October at the half-century celebration breakfast at the Red Lion.
We are a band of brothers and sisters who work together with one heart. That line is a good description of how it felt to be in this church during 1965 to 69, the years of planning, funding, and building the new church on East South River Street. We were a band of brothers and sisters who worked together with one heart. May you strive to continue to be a band of brothers and sisters who work together with one heart, empowered and blessed by God.
May we continue to be a band of brothers and sisters. Thank you.